On August 11, 2025, the simmering tensions of the South China Sea finally erupted into open chaos near the contested Scarborough Shoal. For years, this shallow reef has been a flashpoint, a symbol of the struggle for control between China and the Philippines, with both sides asserting their claims over these strategic waters. But on this day, the standoff escalated into a dangerous confrontation that would send shockwaves far beyond the region. In a dramatic and reckless pursuit, two Chinese vessels, the powerful planned destroyer Guilin and the China Coast Guard cutter CCG-3104, closed in on the much smaller Philippine Coast Guard ship, BRP Suluan. The Chinese ships, intent on forcing the Philippine vessel to withdraw, maneuvered aggressively, their intentions clear, to intimidate and assert dominance in these disputed waters. But in their haste, the two Chinese ships collided with each other, their hulls scraping and crashing together in a chaotic tangle of steel. The incident unfolded just 10 nautical miles from Scarborough Shoal, well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, a stark reminder of the high stakes and contested boundaries in the South China Sea. What was meant to be a calculated display of China's so-called gray zone tactics instead became a dramatic failure, exposing the risks of brinkmanship and the limits of coercion. The aftermath was unmistakable. The CCG cutter's bow was crushed and twisted, leaving it dead in the water and unseaworthy. The Guilin, too, bore deep gashes along its hull, visible scars from a botched show of force. Both vessels, meant to project power, now floated damaged and vulnerable, their crews scrambling to assess the damage and maintain control. Within hours, footage of the collision was circulating online and on news broadcasts around the world. The images were impossible to ignore. Two Chinese ships, battered and broken, the result of their own aggressive maneuvers. The incident exposed a dangerous lack of coordination within China's maritime forces and raised urgent questions about the risks of escalating confrontations at sea. Instead of intimidating its rivals, China's own ships became the most visible victims of their high-pressure tactics. The crews, shaken and frustrated, inspected the damage, evidence that even the most powerful navies are not immune to the chaos of miscalculation. The world watched as the incident became a cautionary tale. Rather than demonstrating dominance, China's actions served as a stark warning. Unchecked escalation in the South China Sea can backfire, creating instability and danger for all involved, even for those who seek to provoke it. The Scarborough Shoal collision was a moment of chaos that revealed just how quickly power plays can spiral out of control. The lead-up to the collision was a case study in overreach, a moment when ambition and pressure collided with the realities of the sea. Tensions had been simmering for weeks, with both sides locked in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse in contested waters. Every maneuver was scrutinized, every decision weighed against the backdrop of national pride and international scrutiny. Philippine Coast Guard video showed the CCG-3104 preparing to water cannon the BRP Suluan, a move that was both aggressive and symbolic. The water cannon, a tool meant to intimidate, became a clear sign of escalating tactics. At the same time, the Guilin tried to cut off its escape, executing a risky maneuver that brought the ships dangerously close together. The choreography of these vessels was tense and fraught with peril, as each side tried to assert dominance. In their zeal to block the Philippine ship, the Chinese vessels lost track of each other. Coordination broke down, and disaster struck. The chaos on the water was mirrored by confusion on the bridges, as split-second decisions led to irreversible consequences. The collision was no accident. It was the result of political pressure overriding operational safety. The damage was not just physical, but reputational, a direct outcome of orders that prioritized confrontation over caution. Beijing's demand for unwavering control pushed commanders to take reckless risks, shrinking the margin for error to zero. The chain of command was under immense strain, with every officer aware that failure was not an option, even if it meant endangering their own ships. Instead of projecting strength, China handed the Philippines a public relations victory and exposed the recklessness of its tactics. The incident quickly became headline news, with international observers questioning China's approach to maritime disputes. The image of two advanced Chinese ships colliding while chasing a smaller vessel became a symbol of failure. It spread rapidly online, fueling debate and criticism both at home and abroad. It was a self-inflicted wound that questioned the professionalism of China's maritime forces. The world watched as a moment meant to demonstrate power instead revealed the dangers of unchecked ambition and the high cost of miscalculation at sea. Washington took notice. The collision in the South China Sea had escalated tensions, and the U.S. was quick to respond. 2 days after the collision, the U.S. Navy dispatched the USS Higgins and USS Cincinnati to the region, conducting a freedom of navigation operation near Scarborough, Shoal. This move was not just a routine patrol, it was a strategic decision aimed at asserting international maritime rights. Their presence was a clear message. The U.S. stands by the Philippines and will not accept China's sweeping maritime claims. The solidarity between the U.S. and the Philippines was on full display, reinforcing their mutual defense commitments. The Higgins, a powerful destroyer, and the Cincinnati, designed for close-to-shore operations, signaled American resolve. The combination of these two ships showcased the versatility and strength of the U.S. Navy. This deployment reassured Manila and reminded Beijing that the U.S.-Philippines alliance is real and active. The arrival of these ships was a significant morale boost for the Filipino forces and a stern warning to China. The FONOP challenged China's attempts to dominate the South China Sea and internationalize the incident. By sailing through these contested waters, the U.S. was upholding international law and ensuring that no single nation could claim these vital sea lanes. The U.S. ship's calm, steady passage underscored the right of all nations to sail freely. This operation was a testament to the principle of freedom of navigation, a cornerstone of international maritime law. The world was watching, and so was China. The international community closely monitored the situation, aware that the actions taken here could set a precedent for future maritime disputes. China's response was swift and defiant. Beijing claimed the U.S. ships had illegally entered its waters and boasted of expelling them, ignoring international law and the 2016 arbitral ruling. In reality, the U.S. warships were shadowed but not forced out. Their mission continued as planned. China's narrative was more about saving face than reflecting events on the water. This pattern, denying wrongdoing, misrepresenting law, and claiming expulsion, is central to Beijing's South China Sea strategy. The real battle is as much about controlling the story as controlling the sea. The collision and U.S. response triggered a wave of diplomatic reactions. The U.S. condemned China's actions as reckless and reaffirmed its defense commitment to the Philippines. Japan, Australia, and New Zealand echoed calls for restraint and respect for international law, backing the 2016 tribunal ruling. This unified front isolated China and underscored that the dispute is a global concern, not just a regional spat. The freedom of the seas and the rules-based order are at stake. The world's democracies are drawing a line against coercion and intimidation. The collision cast doubt on the competence of China's rapidly growing navy. While China boasts the world's largest fleet by hull count, this incident exposed cracks in training, seamanship, and command. Aggressive political goals appear to be overriding safe maritime practice, pushing crews to the brink. The failure of coordination and the severe damage to the CCG cutter raise questions about shipbuilding quality and damage control training. A large navy is not necessarily a capable one. True maritime power requires experience, discipline, and professionalism, qualities that can't be built overnight. The world is watching to see if China can match its hardware with real operational skill. For now, the Scarborough Shoal collision is a cautionary tale. Scarborough Shoal is more than rocks and reefs. It's a strategic flashpoint. Just 124 nautical miles from Luzon, it sits within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone and is vital for local fishermen. For China, Controlling the shoal would complete a triangle of military bases, giving it dominance over the South China Sea. The 2012 standoff saw China seize control, blocking Filipino fishermen and ignoring a U.S.-brokered withdrawal. The 2016 tribunal ruled China's actions unlawful, but Beijing dismissed the verdict. Scarborough Shoal is now a test case for the rules-based order versus raw power. The conflict is about legal rights clashing with force. What happens here will shape the future of the region. The conflict isn't just at sea, it's in the air. On August 13th, as U.S. ships patrolled below, a Chinese fighter dangerously harassed a Philippine surveillance plane, closing to just 500 feet. For 20 minutes, the Chinese pilot performed aggressive maneuvers, risking a mid-air collision. This aerial intimidation is part of China's playbook: assert dominance, force rivals out, and control the skies. Such actions raise the risk of accidental conflict and show China's multi-domain pressure campaign. The danger is real and growing. The Scarborough Shoal incident has galvanized alliances. The Philippines is deepening defense ties with the U.S., granting access to more bases and hosting joint training. This growing partnership is a deterrent to Chinese aggression and a pillar of regional stability. But the risks remain. Another miscalculation could spark a wider conflict. In this tense environment, restraint, communication, and respect for international law are vital. Alliances and deterrence must be paired with dialogue to avoid disaster. The future of the South China Sea and the region depends on whether law and cooperation can prevail over force.